What do you say to the woman you love when you look her in the eye and she says, "I'm done"? Most men panic, argue, or shut down, which makes things worse. But there's a better way, and it starts with just one sentence. So let's talk about what not to say when your wife is emotionally checked out, because this is where most men accidentally make it worse. Trap number one, "but I've changed." Sounds logical, right? You've been reading books. You've been going to the gym. You've been trying to show up differently. So you say, "but I've changed. I'm not the same guy I used to be." But here's what she hears. "You should trust me right now, even though I broke that trust before." She doesn't believe it, not because she's stubborn, but because her nervous system still is scanning for danger. Change has to be felt, seen, and proven over time, not just said. Trap number two that most men fall into is overexplaining, defending, or chasing. You might find yourself saying, "I didn't mean it like that. You're misunderstanding me. If we could just talk, I could explain." But that flood of words only makes her pull further away. Because here's the deal. She's not in logic mode. She's in self-protection mode. She's not looking for a debate. She's looking for safety. And if every word feels like pressure, she'll tune it all out. And no matter how right you think you are. Trap number three that most men fall into is, "can we just talk about it?" Sounds reasonable, right? But to her, it's just another emotional ambush. When she's already exhausted, overwhelmed, or emotionally numb, talking about it feels like one more thing that she has to survive. And we don't want to be in a survival state. We want to be in a thriving state. Even if your heart's in the right place, the timing is off. And timing right now, especially, is everything. So here's some emotional layering insight from RELM method. She's already grieved the marriage emotionally. And most men don't understand this. Like, she's literally gone through the grieving cycles already, months, if not years before you. You're just catching up. This is crucial to understand. You're still in fix-it mode. She's already in grieve-it mode or has moved past it. And when you're trying to fix something she believes is already dead, your words feel more of hope and more of denial. So imagine you show up at a cemetery with jumper cables. You're yelling, "I can fix this. I've got a plan." To her, she's already buried it. And all that effort just looks like madness, not love. Because you're trying to resuscitate something she's already mourned. So instead of pushing harder, you have to learn how to create space without pressure, speak without trying to convince, and let your calm be louder than your words. We'll break that down next, but this part is going to sting a little bit. This is the truth most men never hear until it's way too late. The marriage isn't the real problem. What's broken isn't the relationship. The emotional safety, that's what's broken. That's the problem. See, she's not sitting there wondering, should we stay married? She's asking something much deeper, something she probably can't even put into words. Can I trust you with my heart again? Do I feel safe enough to stay and open up? And that word, safe, okay, safe, safety, it's at the foundation, doesn't mean protecting from burglars, means emotionally safe. And what we teach over here and in our book, there's about 4 pillars of safety. There's emotional, there's physical, because she has to feel physically safe in your presence. There's social, she has to be able to talk to you back and forth, even if you guys don't agree. And even if you guys are basically not necessarily fighting, but definitely not seeing eye to eye, that's okay. And then there's also spiritual, which is her feminine has to open up and lean into your masculine. And one of the biggest things, and the bottom, pretty much the main pillar of safety that leads into that tribe of trust, is safe to feel, safe to speak, safe to relax in your presence without bracing herself for disappointment, defensiveness, or being dismissed. That's a big one. Here's where most men miss it. We go into fix-it mode. We start doing the logistics. I'll pick up the kids more. I'll plan more date nights. I'll spend less time at work. Now, those are good things, but they're like the bottom of the bottom of the ladder. Like they're those are things that she can hire someone. She could, those are just very mediocre things, but they don't fix the thing. Because here's what she's feeling deep down. You still don't see me. You're managing tasks, but I don't feel chosen. I don't feel emotionally safe. Let me break it down this way. You might be fixing the plumbing in the house, but she's standing in a burning living room and you haven't noticed the fire. That's what emotional disconnection feels like. You ever hear the phrase like death by 1,000 cuts? We talk about it all the time. That's how most marriages bleed out. It's not one big betrayal. Sometimes a cut can be a mile long and just an inch deep, whereas in maybe the smallest thing is like maybe an inch long, but a mile deep. It's all the little things. That time she shared her feelings and you changed the subject. The time she asked for help and you said, I'm tired. The night she rolled away in bed and you didn't follow. The day she wore something new and you didn't even look up. None of those things felt huge to you, but to her, they stacked. And every one of those little cuts said, I'm not safe to be fully me here. And now, when she pulls away, goes cold, or even says, I'm done, it's not about the dishes. It's not about the time. It's about the wound. You're trying to fix the marriage. She's trying to feel safe again. Different goals, different language. Until you understand her battle, you're always going to be swinging at the wrong enemy. You're showing up to a gunfight with a toolbox. You're offering solutions when what she needs is to feel your strength, not your solutions, your presence, not your words, your calm. So before we talk strategy, we have to get clear on this. You're not rebuilding a marriage. You're rebuilding a foundation. And that starts with one thing: emotional safety. So let's talk about how to give her that next. All right. So now that we've covered what not to say, let's talk about what actually works. Because the words that you choose in this season matter the most. Not because you need to be perfect or you need the most perfect script, but because how you speak either builds pressure or builds safety. This is what I call the emotional layering protocol, and it has 3 steps. Step 1, acknowledge without pressure. Say this: you're right, we can't go back to how it was. I wouldn't want that either. Why that works? This disarms her defenses. You're not begging, you're not defending, you're agreeing with her feelings, not debating the facts. You're telling her, I see it too, and I'm not trying to drag you back. I want something better. I had a client, we'll call him Sean, whose wife said, I feel like I've been carrying this marriage alone for years. His old response, that's not fair. I work hard. I do everything I can. His new response, I get that. You're right. I didn't see it clearly before, but now I do. And I don't blame you for feeling that way. Boom. Instant shift. Her wall didn't come crashing down, but it started to soften. Why? Because he didn't fight her truth. He acknowledged it. So step 2 in the emotional layering protocol is create a feedback space. Say this: can I ask you something? Not to fix, but just to understand. Is there anything I'm not saying clearly? What would that be? Why this works is most men approach this like an interrogation or a plea deal, but this turns that conversation into an invitation. No pressure, no guilt trip. You're showing her that you're open, not trying to steer. It's not, tell me what I did wrong so I can fix it. It's, I want to understand you better because your perspective matters. That's what breaks the silence. That's what pulls her out of shutdown mode. Think of emotional safety like walking on ice. If the surface cracks under her first step, she'll never move again. But when she feels the ground is steady, when your words and energy hold her weight, she'll test the ice again. Slowly, carefully, that's trust rebuilding itself. And step 3 is you have to speak from internal commitment, not expectation. So say this: I've been doing a lot of reflection, not just to win you back, but because I want to be proud of how I show up, no matter how this turns out. Why this matters is she's watching to see if your changes are real, not just a strategy. And I'm telling you, she's always watching. Like, I've had clients in no contact situations. I've had clients where they've had restraining orders and they only talked like very barely. You'd be surprised how many women actually create fake social media accounts, how many women kind of, they have strategies. I've seen various different strategies just to kind of spy, we can say. Spy and kind of look to see what you're doing. So if your only motive is to get her back, it feels manipulative. But if you're becoming the man you respect, not just the man she wants, that changes the dynamic. Now, you're not chasing, you're leading from the inside out. And look, you don't need her permission to lead. You need the integrity to lead without it. This isn't about controlling the outcome. It's about owning the process. She doesn't need you to be perfect. She needs to see you're consistent, clear, grounded. So imagine you're building a bridge, but she's on the other side of the canyon. She's not going to yell across and say, "Thanks. Keep building." She's going to watch from a distance to see if the bridge actually holds. If it's real, if it lasts, your job is to keep building regardless. Not for her praise, but because it's the right thing to do. So again, let's kind of recap the emotional layering protocol. I want you to acknowledge without pressure, invite feedback, do not demand it, speak from conviction, not control, and it's not about convincing her, it's about being a man she can feel safe around again. And that starts with you. So let's talk about one of the most misunderstood signs in a marriage crisis: her silence, her coldness, her walls. Most men take those things as rejection. They panic, they spiral, they try to break through the walls. But here's what you need to know: it's not rejection, it's protection. Her emotional walls are not just to punish you, they're to protect her from more pain, from more disappointment, from letting herself hope again and then getting crushed. She's thinking, if I soften too soon, he'll go back to the old patterns, I'll break. So she watches you from a distance. Not just what you say, but how you handle her resistance or her pushback. Expect testing. If you're doing the work, she will test it. It might sound like, I don't believe you. You're only doing this because I said I'm done. This is just another phase. You'll go back to being the same. Now, here's what most men do when that happens. They defend. Oh, that's not fair. I've changed. They explain. No, this is different this time. They chase. Give me a chance. But every one of those reactions screams insecurity, and insecurity does not create safety. So what to say instead and why it works. Say this: honestly, I probably feel that way too. If I were you, I wouldn't trust this either. Why this works is because you're not trying to get something from her. You're showing her what real leadership looks like: calm, secure, rooted. Even when she's emotional, even when it's hard, you're proving in that moment you don't have to open the door. I'll stand here, I'll wait, and I'll keep showing up the right way. Let me tell you about one of our private clients. We'll call him Tyler. Tyler had a huge wake-up call when his wife said, I've been emotionally done for over a year. And it was actually a lot more, but she said a year. I just never told you. He wanted to panic. He almost did, by the way. But instead, he said something simple. Thank you for finally telling me. I get it now. You don't owe me trust, but I'll earn it. Later that week, she snapped at him. She threw the, "You're only doing this because I'm leaving" line at him in the kitchen. Tyler didn't flinch. He didn't argue. He just calmly said, "You're right to wonder that. I've given you plenty of reasons not to believe me." And then he walked away peacefully. That was the turning point. Not the fancy speech, not the grand gesture. That moment, that calm, that leadership. She later told him, "That's when I started to believe, maybe you're serious." Imagine she's a wounded animal, okay? You approach her cage with good intentions, but if you move too fast, she will bite. Not because she hates you, but because she doesn't know if it's safe yet. Your job isn't to rip the cage open, it's to sit still. Let her see that you're not there to force her out. You're there to protect what's sacred, even if she can't receive it yet. That's how trust starts to regrow. So remember, her anger isn't hatred, it's fear. And you don't meet fear with control, you meet it with consistency. Let your calm be louder than your words. So let's talk about one of the most crucial turning points in your communication: when to speak and when to stop. Because what you say matters, but what you don't say can matter even more. You speak to open space, not force connection. When a man is desperate to fix a marriage, what does he do? He talks too much. He overexplains. He pleads, he pressures, he repeats himself, not because he's weak, but because he feels powerless and words feel like the only tool he has left. But here's the truth. You're not speaking to get a response. You're speaking to open space. And when you've spoken with clarity and calm, you stop, you let space breathe. Say this instead of trying to get her back talk, okay? You don't have to answer me right now. I just want to share that I'll keep showing you what I mean. That one sentence does more than 30 minutes of explaining. Why? Because now there's no pressure, no convincing, no demand. You're letting her observe you. You're saying, I trust myself enough to be quiet, and I trust you enough to decide when you're ready. I worked with a guy, call him Marcus. His wife was cold, distant, barely speaking to him, just coexisting. After he shared a heartfelt acknowledgement, he followed up with this: I know you don't owe me anything. I just wanted you to know where I'm coming from. No pressure. I'm not waiting for a reply. I'll just keep showing you who I'm becoming. Then he said nothing for days. No follow-up text, no checking in, no, did you hear me? And guess what? She brought it up. 4 days later, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Because his restraint was more powerful than any words he could have added. So here's where most men blow it. And I put a little, if you see right here, I put a little caution thing because this is important. Right after a strong, clear moment, they get nervous and they keep talking. They try to seal the deal by repeating themselves or saying one more thing. But more you talk, the less she trusts it. And really what's happening is when you're trying to over-explain something, you're trying to process it and make it known and explained to yourself. People who are calm, confident, and secure in what they say it once, they say it with confidence, and then that's it. Because it starts to feel like a sales pitch, not a stand. So imagine planting a seed. You water it, you cover it in soil, you give it sunlight. But if you dig it up every day to see if it's growing, you'll kill it. That's what most men do with their words. They say something real, then dig it up 24 hours later with more talking. And they look at it and they're like, oh, why isn't it growing? Your job isn't to chase her response. It's to plant the seed and stand still enough for her to watch it grow. Remember, her trust isn't rebuilt by how well you speak. It's rebuilt by how well you stop speaking and keep showing up. Let your silence carry the weight of your presence. Let's bring it home now. After everything that we've talked about, here's what your wife is actually waiting for. No big speeches, not another apology, not even the perfect words. She's waiting to feel different around you. And that can't be talked into existence. Not from what you say, but from how you show up. He's watching for the tone in your voice. Do you stay calm or do you defend? The look in your eyes. Are you solid or are you secretly panicked? Your presence in the room. Are you grounded or are you reactive? You're restrained. Can you let things breathe or do you push for a response? All of these speak louder than your words ever could. One of my clients, we'll call him David, used to over-apologize. And a lot of men do this, okay? Every fight ended with a flood of texts. Every silence was filled with paragraphs of "I'm sorry." Finally, I told him to stop explaining and start embodying. He came home one day. His wife was cold, distant. He didn't say anything. He just made dinner, cleaned the kitchen, put the kids to bed. Then, without a word, he folded her favorite blanket and left it on the couch with a cup of tea. Did she say thank you? Nope. But 2 nights later, she sat next to him for the first time in weeks. Why? Because she didn't hear a speech. She felt his shift. If she's the storm, you're the lighthouse. She doesn't need the lighthouse to beg her to calm down. She doesn't need it to chase the waves. She just needs to see it standing unshaken so she can find her way back when she's ready. You don't rebuild trust by demanding it. You become the kind of man who earns it over time through presence, not performance. And I want this to be your final reminder. She doesn't need another promise. She needs to feel your peace. She needs to feel that you've changed, even if she hasn't yet. Talk to her with your tone. Talk to her with your patience. Talk to her with your consistency. That's how you lead her home. If you're ready to lead your marriage again, instead of reacting to it, go down to the description below, click the link to grab the Heroic Husband book, or you can check out our free training, or if you want something more personal, more one-on-one, you can go book a free clarity session. See you in the next video.